Our banking system is sound.
In the past 2 weeks, serious difficulties at a small number of banks have emerged.
These banks are safe.
All depositors' savings in the banking system are safe.
The banking system in the United States is sound and resilient.
Banking system is sound. Banking system is sound. Banking system is sound. Banking system is sound and resilient.
A rough week for the banking industry.
The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, the second biggest bank collapse in U.S. history.
The Silicon Valley Bank collapse is the worst since 2008.
Social Security is structurally sound.
As president, I will not cut one penny from Social Security or Medicare.
There's an imminent disaster waiting. I mean, that's where we're headed.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Bryce Harper. Suarez delivers. Swing and a drive. Left field. It's deep. It's going. Yes! And it is gone. Yes! It is bedlam at the bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
Thank you for tuning in to podcast number 16 of Bogus Banks, Behemoth Bubbles, and Baseball Betting. I'm your host, Chase Goldman, and today is Sunday, April the 12th. So I want to talk a little bit about baseball real briefly, and then we'll move on to the fake stock market. So we're off to a pretty good start on the season overall. I've got some plays that I've been betting that aren't doing quite as well. In other words, what I'm saying is there are situations that I will see that are the most profitable bets on the spreadsheet. And so that would be your 2x and 3x, 4x, and sometimes even 5x. I think there's only been 2 of those in the history of the spreadsheet. But I will bet a lot more money on those games than my one standard unit. And I also like a sweet spot where when the favorite, when Vegas agrees with my spreadsheet, and that favorite is minus 200 to minus 300, I will also hit those heavy. So those bets have not been panning out, and I'm sitting on a small loss on the baseball season right now. But the spreadsheet record is up 7.45 units. The posted record has beaten the spreadsheet record for the first time, at least through the first, 2 weeks of baseball roughly. It's up 12.16 units. And that was largely because we had a 2x trigger on a pitching change with the Yankees at minus 280 that I didn't catch, fortunately. And that game went and the Yankees got upset. So that's the big difference there, those 5.6 units on that game. But yeah, when the line is minus 200 to minus 300, I will pound it hard, along with anything that comes up with a 2x, 3x, 4x, etc. I will pound those extra hard as well. So those big bets have not been working this year so far, but I expect that to turn around. I am monitoring the macro trends because I'm concerned with all these AI clods out there and shit like that. Somebody might be able to replicate what I've worked my ass off to build on this spreadsheet with a few clicks of a mouse. I don't think it's possible. I think AI is completely overrated. But I am watching to make sure that the tendencies that Vegas has had in certain situations is continuing on a very, very macro 30,000 foot view level. And they are. They're continuing to do the same things that they've always done. So I feel very confident that we're going to have a winning season. We'll see how it goes. But I do also want to take just one moment for my audience, however many people that might be. Baseball is a 100% male sport. Now, in the last year, I noticed that they had a home plate umpire at a Pirates game last year that I had money on, and she was a straight up dyke. She did a good job, and I don't really have a huge problem with a female umpire, I guess, but when they bring the chick announcers into the booth, oh my God, it just makes me want to vomit. The A's did it last year, and they're doing it again this year. So usually when I've got a bet on or against the A's, well, even on the A's, usually I try to watch the feed that is on the team that I'm betting on. But when it's the A's and that chick is doing the play-by-play in the broadcast booth, last night I watched the Mets feed. I can't deal with women in baseball. I don't like it. And it's weird that, they always make their male baseball players dress up in pink on Mother's Day. I don't wear pink on Mother's Day. I don't know anybody else who always wears pink every Mother's Day. It's a weird thing, and why they're making these people that everybody's focused on wear pink on, and it fits hand in hand with their little pride movement. So I got a feeling that, baseball is largely controlled by the very same group that controls our government and controls our president, Donald Trump, obviously. They've got this homosexual agenda. Boys can be girls, girls can be boys, women can do the play-by-play. It's so annoying. I just don't like any of it. But definitely, I think it was the Rangers, the year they won the World Series. Every team in baseball did their Pride Month or Pride Night or Pride Week or whatever the hell you want to call it. But the Rangers didn't. And that was the first year that pride shit really took off with Major League Baseball. And lo and behold, the Rangers didn't do that shit. They were the only team out of 30 that didn't do it, and they won the World Series that year. So enough about baseball. We're going to move on to this fake, phony excuse for a stock market. So, I'll just recap. It was October 28th. Andrew Ross Sorkin, who's a member of the same community that a lot of people are now suspecting control our government and our president, Donald Trump. He rings the bell, standing in front of a giant sign about a stock market crash. The opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange, October 28th. October 29th, all three major U.S. stock market indexes hit their all-time intraday highs. That was the last time that happened. That was almost 6 months ago now. October 29th, Nasdaq peaked at 26,182.10, and that's your AI bubble. That's where the AI bubble lives and breathes, is in the Nasdaq 100. So they toyed with us. They brought the market straight down from that point, maybe a couple thousand points, but then it bounced right back. And by January the 28th, which is the 3-month anniversary of Sorkin ringing that opening bell, on the day, to the day, this is how much control they have over these fake phony markets. They brought the Nasdaq right back to its all-time high. But did they eclipse it? No. They came 17 points away from breaking that all-time high. The all-time high from October 29th was 26,182.10. On January the 28th, on the 3-month anniversary of Sorkin ringing that bell, they brought it back to the old all-time high, but didn't breach it. They came within 17 points. They put it at 26,165.08 on the intraday high. 17.02 points away from a new all-time high. That is 0.06% of a new all-time high. That's how close they got. So they have total control over these markets. I've known that for a very long time, and I'm trying to convince other people to see what I'm seeing. Then, it just keeps going. February the 28th, this is the 4-month anniversary of Sorkin ringing that bell. What happens? The Strait of Hormuz is closed. And then, 30 days later, to the day, March 28th, that was 2 weeks ago, I believe, Nasdaq hit its low point. Since Sorkin rang the bell, it hit the all-time low. I believe the 28th was a Saturday and the 29th, so that was a Saturday and Sunday. So the market closed on the 27th at its low since Sorkin rang the bell. So here we are, April 12th. I just saw on Twitter that Trump has had another all-caps social post or whatever, and now he's going to blockade any ships. He's not going to allow any ships that pay the $2 million toll to exit the strait. So the only good thing that's come out of this war to this point is that a lot of Americans are now scratching their heads and they're asking questions about, like, what the fuck happened to Donald Trump? Why did he start this war? Now, if we won the war, nobody would be asking those questions, but because we lost the war, a lot of people are asking those questions. Why are we doing this? And all the fingers are pointing back to Israel, and we know what race and religion dominates Israel. Okay, and there's also a lot of U.S. billionaires that are of that same race and religion, along with Andrew Ross Sorkin and half the cast of CNBC, Alan Greenspan, Ben Bernanke, Janet Yellen. I mean, the list is endless. All the guys in the AI bubble, Larry Ellison, who's a big player in this AI bubble, is one of them, along with what's his name, Mario Amodai, the guy that's in charge of Anthropic. He's also a member of that same clan, as well as Sam Altman, the boy who acts like a girl. And that would, like I say, I think that was the popping of the AI bubble when he went on that BG2 podcast with Brad Gerstner. And Brad Gerstner just happened to have a copy of Andrew Ross Sorkin's book sitting in the background just over his left shoulder on that podcast. It's not a coincidence. They're going to crash these markets. Nasdaq is definitely going to drop at least 90% from its all-time high. They don't go to this much trouble and cast this many spells and do all this stuff on the 90-day and 120-day and 150-day. It was the 3-month, 4-month, and 5-month anniversary. Significant developments happened in terms of this trade. So just to recap, we had Nasdaq comes right back to its former all-time high within just millimeters of that all-time high on the 3-month anniversary of Sorkin ringing the bell. A month later, Strait of Hormuz is closed. So that's on the 4-month anniversary of Sorkin ringing that bell. And then we bottomed, it looks like, to the normal average, investor. It looks like the markets have bottomed. We're off to new highs. We're just going to keep going like Nasdaq's always done. Buy the dip, baby. Buy the dip. Pavlov's dog has been well trained for a quarter of a century. Always buy the dip in U.S. stocks. That's going on. And so we bottomed on March 28th again. That was the 5-month anniversary. So who knows what's in store on the 6-month anniversary of Sorkin ringing that bell. But this is the first time Nasdaq has ever done this. It has never, ever, in the history of the Nasdaq 100, which I think goes all the way back to 1984, it has never traded in a range where it's gone anywhere close to this many days, consecutive days, without either A, hitting a new all-time high, or B, entering correction territory, which is defined as 10% below the all-time high. It hasn't done either one of those things. It finally did enter correction territory on March the 28th, on the 5-month anniversary of Sorkin ringing that bell. So technically it was the 27th, Friday close, and then you had Saturday and Sunday, no market activity. So on the 28th, it's fair to say the markets were in correction territory for those 2 days, that Friday and that Monday. But it's bounced right back. It's up 2,000 points, but it's still over 1,000 points away from a new all-time high. I feel very, very, very confident in this trade. Anybody who's buying these let's just completely ignore all the shit about the conspiracy stuff with the witches running the world and the stock market's fake. Just ignore that. Pretend like it's all real. And this is what you've got. You've got private credit just absolutely imploding. They've gated in all their investors, and that's why they did it this way instead of doing it with banks, because banks can't gate in. They can't gate in, depositors the way that private credit can. So private credit has pretty much told everybody that you can get 5% out of this thing, and the rest of it we squandered it all on buy now, pay later. Fuck you, you're done, you're toast. That's exactly what's going on in private credit. They've made the shittiest loans to companies like Carvana, who, this fraud, it's going to get exposed, and the stock will go from 300 to 0 probably overnight. And they're getting payment in kind from so many of these companies that they made these shitty loans to, these companies that'll never be profitable. It's a government jobs creation program, really and truly is what it is. You got a bunch of people working at those companies. If it's anything like what I experienced when I was hired on by one of those telecom startups in the .com bubble, that was the biggest waste of money ever. To hire any of us that were on that entire floor. It was such a joke. Nobody did a fucking thing. None of us had anything to do. We would have done anything they asked us to do, but there was just nothing to do because the salespeople weren't making sales, and I was the sales engineer, so without sales I had nothing to do. The whole thing was just a joke. Incineration of stockholder money, and it just makes me wonder how in the hell did the guy who borrowed all that money to squander it on that .com bubble, how did he get it? I wonder if he was a member of that certain group as well. I got a feeling a lot of them are. But yeah, that's where we're at. Trump is closing down the strait more so than it was before, because now even the people that wanted to pay the $2 million toll to get those, those ships through that strait are going to have their ships stolen if they pay it and they get out and encounter the U.S. aircraft carriers, which can't get anywhere near Iran's coast because they'll get bombed. They've already bombed one of them. The Gerald Ford is the most technologically advanced aircraft carrier that the United States has. They tried to tell us it was a fire in the laundry room. Who is going to believe that? Oh my God, 30 hours. And now the ship is parked over in Greece for repairs. Yeah, the United States has lost this war. I mean, it's not done, but the United States has clearly lost this war. And now I fear that idiot is going to do a ground invasion. And I mean, they're circling the wagons with all this shit about a draft, and there's zero support from it for a draft here in the United States. I mean, you go on Twitter and you see a lot of bots obviously replying saying, yeah, Trump, MAGA, blah, blah, blah. I think it's just they're trying to make it look like and gaslight the public into thinking that we, the U.S. people, want this war. I think what most Americans probably want is just for this government to fail so we can start over and do something more intelligent than what we have in place now. But that's not going to happen. I mean, these Epstein files, they wouldn't go away. A lot of people think that's why Trump started the war, because the Epstein files wouldn't go away. And then to add all this chaos to everything, Melania goes on TV a couple days ago and starts talking about how the Epstein victims need to step forward and testify before Congress. And this is just weeks after Trump said, why are you guys still talking about Epstein? That was over in 2018. This is stupid. Total waste of time. So, I don't think anybody's playing 5D chess, but I honestly, I don't even have a theory. I don't even have a theory. I just know that a lot of these fingers point back to a certain group, and I'm not saying that everybody in that group is in on it. I mean, that's insane. But I do think that there is a much higher concentration of high-level witches within that group. I think that's how they've been able to seize so much power and so much control over U.S. corporations, U.S. government, presidency, you name it. Certainly the press. All of the press is controlled by that same group. I'm certain of that. Whether it's Popular Mechanics, whether it's CBS News, CNN, Fox News, it's all controlled by that same group. So I think they're going to crash the markets. I know that's not investment advice. I do think that with what they've done and how they prepared this whole thing. I mean, going back to my original thesis, if you ignore all the conspiracies about the witches running the whole world and the stock market being a fake video game, just look at what you've got. You've got private credit absolutely imploding. You've got banks with skyscrapers on their balance sheets held at par value, which they're going to be lucky on some of. I'm seeing reports where some of these buildings are selling for 10 cents on the dollar versus what they paid for them 10, 15 years ago. The banks are sitting on all that debt. It's worthless, but they're pretending like everything's fine because the auditors won't do their jobs. The credit rating agencies won't do their jobs. The regulators won't do their jobs. Nobody will do their jobs when it comes to banking. But oh my God, you want to open up an account? We need a blood sample. We go through hell with the banks. But the banks, I'm totally convinced that they're all insolvent. Every damn one of them in the United States are 100% insolvent. And then not only that, you've got this oil thing, and you've got this fertilizer shortage. For my small business, I'm going to be panic hoarding on Monday morning. Tomorrow morning, I'm ordering 1.5 years of supply of all the fertilizer and all the lawn chemicals that I'll need for my business. So I'm panic hoarding. I'm going to pay the storage costs because I fear that at some point we're just going to be told, no, we can't get any more, and we don't know when we'll be able to get more fertilizer. So I'm going to panic hoard tomorrow. We've also got a situation where a lot of gas stations in Australia are already out of fuel. And can you imagine trying to be self-employed, running a small business, and you can't get fuel? Or to get fuel, you have to spend 2 or 3 hours of your day to drive and wait in a gas line to get it. I mean, do the math. This thing, the economy is going to implode very rapidly. It hasn't hit the United States yet. I just checked Gas Buddy, and it looks like gasoline near my house at the Quick Trip near my house is like down to $3.59 a gallon. It's such a joke. But one thing that did happen on April the 8th, I think a lot of people started waking up to how fake and phony these markets are. So it was Tuesday night, Trump chicken tacoed, and the markets went berserk. Nasdaq has an orgasm. It's up 850 points in the Nasdaq futures market. So the market comes and opens the next morning, and it's obvious the ceasefire ain't happening. They're still bombing the shit out of each other over there. And worse news comes out that the Iranians have bombed a lot of, petrochemical assets in the Persian Gulf. And, things just got worse. But Nasdaq doesn't give up its gains. It's what? So anyway, back to my original thesis. You've got all these problems, and now I'm reading that in 3 weeks, most of the European airports are going to be completely out of jet fuel, and there's no way to get more. Where are they going to get it? If they ordered it from Galveston right now, you're 3-4 weeks to get it over there, maybe 5. I don't know how long it is. It's a long time. You ground all the planes in Europe because they can't get fuel. What does that do to the economy? It's going to absolutely implode. This is simple math. This is a certainty at this point. There's no ifs. It's a certainty. They're going to crash the markets. They're going to take 90% down from Nasdaq's high. And the peasants are going to be left with no wealth. By 2030, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. And they meant it when they said that. So that's where we're at today. I'm not sure if Klaus Schwab is a member of that clan or not, but they are a very, very powerful clan. They started World War III. They've obviously got control of Congress and the president, but they're being exposed in doing so. So a lot of people are figuring this out, and God only knows what's coming in the future. But I still think, as long as they've got control over the things that I see that they've got control of, they're gonna drop this Nasdaq by 90%, bottom it on July 6th, and we're gonna be off to a new bull market. That's what I'm thinking. That's a 20-month bear market from October 29th to July 6th, 2027. And that's 20 months, and that's pretty typical for your average bear market. But I'm seeing a 90% drop. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with podcast number 17 soon. Thank you.